All right, here we are in dynamic movement. 3 pretty challenging exercises for you guys today. Remember, choose the amount of sets that's appropriate for you. If you find you're completely wrecked or really tired after the first set, only do 1 more, okay? 3 is like, you're really trying to burn body fat, you're really trying to get conditioned, then push yourself for 3. But even for myself, I don't even typically do 3 sets too often. I just make sure that the 2 sets that I'm doing are super intense and also done properly, okay? And then that's usually enough engagement for me. And I've been doing this for a little while. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do 3, but listen to your body is what I'm saying. Now the first exercise is called a sissy squat, okay? And I don't know why it's called a sissy squat, but let's not make any judgments based on the name, because it is actually one of my favorite leg exercises to do. Now the way that we're going to set up our feet is quite important. So what you're going to notice, look at my pretty feet, is see that I have 1 foot forward. That's the foot that I'm actually going to be using in working that leg. So my right foot is forward. My left foot is going to be basically the toes are in line with where my heel is. And then I'm going to step out to my side, maybe 12 inches, a foot. Sometimes people can go wider, and that's okay, that works. Just find a position that feels good for you. Now also notice how much I'm in foot flexion. And foot flexion means pushing down. My foot is heel off the ground all the way. Literally all the way, as high as I could push up onto my toes, keeping my toes flat. That's how high my heel is off the ground. Now that's what you're trying to keep the entire time you go through this motion. So that's super important, extremely, extremely important. You cannot allow your heel to drop, okay, first and foremost. Now, because I'm working my forward leg, I'm working my right leg, I'm going to keep a nice strong arch in my right foot. Okay, so that foot is gripping the ground really well. Now, it's a squat motion. So what is a squat motion? Considering everything I've just mentioned with my feet, I'm now going to push my hips back as if I was reaching to sit back into a chair, and I'm going to drop my hips into a squat. Okay, now what you're noticing is my hips have gone back, now my posture is nice and upright. I like to put my hands out in front of me for counterbalance. Look at my feet not change at all. And then you come all the way back up. So what's really important is that this right knee, as I go back and down, that my right knee doesn't go too far forward. This foot's got to stay flat, so this heel has to stay down. I'm thinking about dropping my hips back and keeping this knee from going too far forward. And then when I'm ready to come back up, I push through this heel to drive and engage through my right glute, okay? This forward leg glute. Now we've done split squats before, right? So split squat, we're like this. Okay, I'm dropping down, I'm working this glute. This is another version, a more advanced version of a unilateral exercise where we're working the forward leg. Okay? Now depending on how many sets you're going to do, you're going to choose the reps that is appropriate for how many sets you're going to do. If you know you're going to do 3 sets of this exercise, or of all 3 of these exercises, then you're going to do 10 reps. If you're just going to do 2 sets, you're going to do 15 reps. Okay? So I'm going to demonstrate 8 more to bring my total to 10 for the sake of time. Remember, press pause if you're going to do extra or if you need a break, but try to do all these reps per side in a row. So I'll do my whole right side. If I need to rest, I'll rest. Then I'll do my whole left side. Okay? Because at least for me, when I do leg exercise, it gets a little aerobic. My heart rate goes up. Sometimes I need to take a little break. So I'm going to go here. I'm set up in my feet. I'm going to do 8 more. I'm going to talk very little. Arms are out in front of me. Notice that difference in depth I just did there. I'm going to do 2 more. Ooh, almost lost my balance there. Anytime we're doing a unilateral exercise, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, there's always going to be a little bit of a challenge with the balance. So be careful in how low you go. You don't need to go as low as I was going. The first 5 reps that I demonstrated was a moderate depth, right? So you could do that low if you feel more comfortable. As you go along, you want to go lower, then go lower. Now I'm going to do 10 on the other side. Strong forward foot, flexed back foot. We're going to drive the hips back, arms forward, really slow. This is the first rep I'm doing on this side, so I'm not going to go super low to begin. Now I'm going to start going lower and lower. I got 5 more. And there's 10. Now, next one. We've done a forward and backward bear crawl, either last week or the end of the week before. Today we're going to do a lateral bear crawl. Okay, so when we did the bear crawl before, I demonstrated with a ball in the crease of my back. Now, if you have a yoga block, which I do somewhere, you could do the same thing with the yoga block, putting that on your low back to ensure that you're keeping core stability. Because this exercise is best done when your core is stable, when your spine is stable. I could do the same thing really quickly, but it'll be much easier. And it's not going to be as engaging for the core, so we want to keep the core a little bit more involved. So the previous week we did this crawl. We are on our hands and knees. Hands under the shoulders, knees into the hips. And then we lifted the knees off the ground, hovering the knees just barely above the ground, and then we walked forward and then backward. Okay? Today, we're going to work the frontal plane of motion, which means we're going sideways. Okay? So the technique is the same. You start with your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. I have the ball on my low back. Keeping the ball there as I go sideways is going to be much more challenging, so we'll see if I can even do it. My arms are straight. My abs are tightened. Already lost the ball. And if I don't situate this ball thing, then I'm just going to ditch it. Okay, so I'm going to lift my knees off the ground, keeping my knees and hands where they are. Knees just barely hover over the ground. Now I'm going to step my left hand and right foot at the same time. When you step opposite hand and foot at the same time, it ends up being much more core engaging because my core is activating in between the hand and foot that remain on the ground. So it's a contralateral engagement between my left hand my left foot and right hand right now. The smoother and slower you go, the more conditioned you will get. Oh, almost lost the ball. Still got it. You can see I'm obviously keeping the ball there. because of how smoothly and stable I'm fighting for. Gets aerobic. Woo, I made it. So, you're going either left, then right, or you're going right, then left. You're either going to your right, taking a rest, then going left. But you want each set to be something significant. So, I did that for maybe 30 seconds or so. You could do a timer and just crawl around sideways, if you need to do that for 30 seconds to a minute, or if you know a distance that you'd like to challenge yourself with, then choose that distance to be able to go left and right, to and forth, okay? And if you don't have anything to put on your low back to keep yourself stable, then it is what it is. But one thing that you'll want to consider is not letting your butt go up too high, okay? So if you do this, and you're up here, with your knees far off the ground and going like this ends up being more of a shoulder exercise, okay? And it's not bad to work your shoulders, but we're trying to engage a lot more than just the shoulders. We'll choose when we want to isolate the shoulders and work them. This exercise is specific more to core, thighs, and overall aerobic conditioning at the same time. So there's that. And then the last exercise we're going to do is actually much more simple, but this one actually is going to target the arms specifically. So what you're going to do is you're going to get into kind of child's pose-ish. We'll just say the position that you were in earlier, where you're on your knees, your feet were back behind you. You're going to push one elbow down to the ground. Okay? Now what you'll see here is that my butt went back. I'm almost sitting on my heels. And my other hand is just going to be on my low back here. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to work this tricep and shoulder by doing a press. You'll notice that my back stays nice and flat. And I'm going to do like 15 to 20 of these because it's not a super heavy weight, but it's a nice way to work the triceps while keeping the hips active, keeping the core engaged. So I'm just going to continue along. You can join me at this point. I'm spreading my fingers, pushing my palm through the ground, and I'm also really thinking about straightening my elbow. And I'm at 9. It really doesn't take too much to start to burn that tricep out, which is one of those really important pushing exercises. They really assist in doing push-ups, in doing shoulder presses. We can't do push-ups every day, right? So we have to find different ways to activate the arms and shoulders that is not just always in a push-up. And this is one way I like to lock my hips in place, lock my spine in place, and then do that press. So I did 15, now I'm going to do 15 on the other side. The tempo is also really important too. So I could just, go really quickly like this and do quick little pumps, but I want to be more controlled and keep a nice steady tempo. As you may have noticed already, I really encourage going slow and being steady in everything that we do. And the reason for that is because it's much safer for the joints, especially when you're trying to strengthen the joints. Okay, the only way you really do it is by keeping a slow, steady tempo. Time under tension is what strengthens the tendons, the ligaments. That's 6, this is 7. My fingers are spread, pushing my knuckles through the floor, locking my elbow out. It's not a really tough exercise as far as conditioning goes. You're just going to feel that arm start to burn as you go along. All right, there's 15. All right, you all. That is April 21st's workout. You just completed tier 3. If you need to go through 1 or 2 more times, please do so. As I said earlier, just listen to your body. And I hope you're all doing really well. I hope you're enjoying the workouts. and I will see you on Thursday.